Hello and welcome to another one of my videos. In this one, I will tell you about the symbolism and meaning of Eight of Swords in the Thoth deck. As usual, I will start with the description of the card, and then we will dive deeper into the symbolism of all of the elements that we can see here. I will list the meanings of this card in Divination at the very end of the video, and the timestamp for when I start talking about that is shown below now, so you can jump there if you want. When we look at this card, we see 8 swords blocking our path. 2 longer swords are in the front, and there are 6 smaller ones behind them. And the smaller swords have very interesting shapes, and we will find out what they are called in a moment. The longer swords are rapiers, and we have seen similar ones in the 6 of Swords already. All of the swords here have this eerie, ghostly appearance, and the background of the card is very chaotic, with these random, sharp geometric shapes and a very intense purple color. We get a feeling here that we won't achieve what we want, our path is blocked, and all of the swords together look a bit like prison bars here. It feels like we are trapped. And now let's hear a quote from the Book of Thoth to find out what all of the smaller swords are called. The center of the card is occupied by 2 long swords pointed downward. These are crossed by 6 small swords, 3 on each side. They remind one of weapons peculiar to their countries or their cults. We see here the kris, the kukri, the scramasax, the dagger, the machete, and the yataghan. So we will start with talking about the symbolism of these swords in just a moment, but before we dive into this, I just wanted to let you know that you can support this channel by liking, commenting, and subscribing. You can also become a patron of the channel for just €3 per month, so that's a little over $3. I also accept one-time donations through PayPal. All links are in the video description below. Thank you very much for considering this. Your support secures the future of this channel. Okay, let's get back to the 8 of Swords now. So the first of the small swords is a kris. This is an Indonesian weapon, and it is used in combat, but it's also said to have this spiritual essence. It's like it has its own character. And therefore their use is sometimes ceremonial, and they are also treated like talismans. And it looks a bit different in the card than in the photo you can see on the screen now, but I couldn't find any sword that would look exactly like the one in the card, and Crowley tells us that it is a kris, so I think we can trust him. But if you have seen a sword exactly like the one painted by Lady Frida Harris, please let me know in the comments. Now the second weapon is a kukri, originating from Nepal, and this blade is both used in close combat, but it's also used as a utility knife. The third one is supposed to be a scramasax, a weapon of Germanic peoples, especially the Saxons, from the early Middle Ages. And it actually looks a bit more like one of the early Indian swords. It has a similar shape to the one you can see now on the screen. And now things get even more confusing, because the 4th blade mentioned by Crowley is a dagger, and in the card we can see that the dagger is actually the 5th one from the top. And this is a double-edged straight blade, and the earliest ones discovered come from around 4th century BCE. The other 2 blades in the lower part of the card are supposed to be a machete and a yataghan. And we can see that the 4th one from the top could definitely be a yataghan, but the bottom sword in this card doesn't look anything like a machete, which is usually a straight blade that widens at the end. The last sword here could actually be a shottle, a sword originating from northern Ethiopia. And we see here that Crowley's descriptions sometimes don't match the actual painting exactly, but I think that the most important part here is that he says these are the weapons specific to certain countries and their cults. So what we see here is a gathering of many different perspectives. The suit of swords relates to our thoughts. So the swords here show different opinions, different ways of looking at the world, and different philosophies and religions. And it's also worth noting that the swords in the background are more ancient than the two in the front. The two longer swords are rapiers, and they were in use around 16th or 17th century, so they are significantly more modern than the shorter blades behind them. And this can be showing us that our more modern approach is actually blocking our path to a more ancient knowledge and a wider diversity in the way we think and relate to the world. And overall, all of the swords in our way are showing us that we can't accomplish what we want because there are so many different opinions and ideas in our head that it's impossible to choose the right path. Our thoughts here are too chaotic to work in our favor, and we are wasting time and energy on 1,000 unimportant things. Let's hear another quote now to find out how Crowley sees this. The number 8, Hod, here signifies lack of persistence in matters of the intellect and of contest. Good fortune, however, attends even these weakened efforts, thanks to the influence of Jupiter in Gemini, ruling the decan. Yet the will is constantly thwarted by accidental interference. On the Tree of Life, we are now in the 8th Sephira Hod, connected to Mercury and color orange. Hod means majesty or splendor, and this Sephira is connected with our intellect, learning, and language. So we think it should be in good harmony with the suit of swords, which is also connected with our intellect, but here the emphasis on thinking is so heavy that it leads to inaction. We are locked inside our own head, battling with all of the thoughts, and this battle can never be resolved. On the decan wheel, we are in the first decan of Gemini, the energy of Jupiter in Gemini. Crowley says that Jupiter brings us good fortune here, but this influence is largely wasted because Jupiter in Gemini is in adversity, which means its influence is quite limited here, as this is the sign opposite to the sign of Sagittarius that Jupiter rules. Jupiter has an airy energy. It is very expansive and wants to join everything together. It's very tolerant and has a tendency for blind optimism. It's also connected with goodwill and gratitude. Gemini is a mutable air sign ruled by Mercury, so we have another airy influence here, which makes this card basically all air. A Gemini is a very scattered and busy energy. It's clever, but it's also always changing its mind. It always wants something different, or even wants multiple contradicting things at the same time. It's a very curious sign. It's able to discover things that others don't notice, and it loves exploring. It's a very social sign as well. It can talk to anyone, and it's very flexible. And you can see that the optimism of Jupiter doesn't work very well in this changeable environment. It's very difficult to feel gratitude and be optimistic if we are always changing our mind about what we want, and therefore our efforts at anything will be inconsistent. Now, Jupiter loves to join everything together, but Gemini, on the other hand, loves splitting and dividing, if only to understand things better and explore different possibilities. Jupiter prefers a more consistent effort over a longer period of time. And this is why Crowley says that in this card, will is constantly thwarted by accidental interference. So we can't keep the focus on achieving what we want because we are constantly distracted by different ideas and opinions of other people. And now I'm going to tell you a bit about the meaning of this card in Divination. Eight of Swords shows us interference. There are too many things occupying our attention for us to focus on what is important. Maybe there are a lot of people around us and everyone is offering their opinion and their point of view, which creates such a chaotic environment that we don't know what we should be thinking anymore. And maybe it's just our own thoughts that get into our way because we keep on thinking about what might happen or what else we could be doing, and all of this leads us to inaction. If this card describes a person, this will be someone with a very busy mind. This person can be scattered and inconsistent because they have 1,000 ideas a minute and they can never focus on anything for long enough to achieve what they want. This is a card of the overthinker. And whether it will be a work or a relationship reading, when we see the Eight of Swords, it means that someone cannot make a decision. It's possible that there are many people around them trying to influence their decision, and this person doesn't know what to do and they don't even know what to think anymore. It can also show a workplace where there are many meetings, a lot of ideas and opinions, but nothing really gets done practically. You will be swamped with emails and there will be a lot of criticism, but it will be very difficult to achieve anything in this place. In spirituality, Eight of Swords will show that your energy is wasted on unimportant things. You are living in your head and need to be more mindful of where you direct your energy. If this card shows up in your reading as an obstacle, it's like a closed door. We need to take a few steps back and start over. You need to find a different way to approach this problem, because right now you're just wasting your time and energy on unimportant things and you're going nowhere. Stop listening to everyone around you and make a definite decision based on what you think is the right thing to do. As advice, on the other hand, the Eight of Swords tells you to consider different opinions. Listen to different people, take all points of view into consideration, and accept that sometimes the differences cannot be reconciled. Sometimes we just need to agree to disagree on certain subjects, especially if these are matters concerning different cultures, philosophies, or religions. We need to remember that nobody has a monopoly on truth in those matters, and there is a beauty in our diversity. That's it for today. Thank you so much for watching, and please remember to like the video, leave a comment, and of course subscribe to my channel. I would like to thank everyone who is already supporting the channel. I appreciate your help very much. And if you want to help secure the future of this channel, please consider a one-time PayPal donation, or you can become a patron of the channel for just €3 per month. Once 100 people sign up for my Patreon, all patrons will be able to suggest and vote for future content of the channel. So if you want to have your say in what videos I create next, click on the link in the video description below. Every little bit of support and every donation is great help and is greatly appreciated. Once again, thank you so much for today, and I will see you in the next video about the Nine of Swords very soon. Thank you, bye!